Welcome back into the GSMC Sports Podcast for our final segment of the day, where as we are counting down the final days towards the NBA tip-off, which takes place next Tuesday, October 22nd, we have 5 shows, and each one we are going to be giving out top 10 players by position. We're going to be starting today at point guard, just, for clarity's sake here. The way that I decided to go about this, not the best system, but just out of simplicity, I am choosing the positions based off of what ESPN has them listed as. So, you can argue whether or not, for example, Luka is a point guard or a shooting guard. He's listed as a point guard on ESPN.com, so that is what we're rolling with here. Don't usually love doing lists like this. I feel like they are very divisive, but at the same time, it's in the name of the love of the game. All of these players are obviously excellent if they are in the top 10. So without further ado, let's just get into it and try not to be too upset. This is my list, not your list. Let me know what your top 10 would be in the comments section. Number 10, I have Tyrese Maxiell. Maxey is a player that I have been so high on since his days at Kentucky. As a Celtics fan myself, I was very disappointed when he ended up in Philadelphia because I knew he was going to be a hit, and that he has. That being said, I think that a lot of people have it's not even overrating Tyrese Maxiell because, again, he's excellent, but we are really still yet to see him do anything on his own. He is an unbelievable complementary player to Joel Embiid and provides a certain skill set in offense that Embiid has not had throughout his entire career. Again, Maxi's great, but when you look at, and this shouldn't all fall on him, but the 76ers really struggled once Embiid went out with the injury. No duh, but it's not like Maxey was great enough to, lift them to a 500 record. And then in the playoffs as well, the non-Embiid minutes with Maxey on still were not positives. And that says a lot about the 76ers roster construction. Again, I'm not trying to hold Tyrese Maxiell to the standard of he can put a franchise. At this moment, Tyrese Maxiell is how old? 22, 23 years old. I just don't think he's at the point right now where he can backpack a team to the playoffs or in a playoff series. He's a little bit more complimentary at this point, which I don't think is an insult to him. I think it's that he's 23 years old, has spent basically his entire professional career right now playing with Joel Embiid. He's not asked to do more. I think 10 is very fair for him. He's an all-star caliber with an upside of an all-NBA type player, but some of the guys in front of their list, I think, has shown it the possibility of being able to carry their team more, and I think that they will this upcoming season. That being said, number 9 here, Damian Lillard, a player that for the longest time had the Portland Trailblazers franchise on his back. Last year, gets traded to Milwaukee right before the season, and it was disappointing, absolutely. And, I think that even him being down here at 9 is maybe a little bit disrespectful based off of what I feel about him and his entire career and what he is capable of. But at this point, I have a hard time putting him much higher than this. I think that he is going to have a much better second season with Milwaukee than year 1. There was so much turnover, and Lillard himself, basically through Doc Rivers, said that last year he came into the season in the worst shape of his life. That should be better this upcoming season, and I think that Lillard is going to be, in one of the higher end point guards in the league, but it's hard for me to fully buy back in at this point, knowing that he is a little bit of a liability on the defensive side of the ball. He has been or at least he was very streaky last season. He definitely has it in him, and ultimately, if he shoots up this list by the end of the year, I won't be surprised whatsoever. But as of right now, I have Lillard at 9. Number 8, I have Trey Young. Another super volatile, polarizing player with NBA fans. I don't love Trey Young in terms of being a well-rounded player. I don't love his play style where it is so ball dominant that I think it can really restrict the offense that he runs. But Trey Young will also show likely this season that with the ball in his hands and with players that can sort of more so play into his system, he will elevate the Hawks to a play-in caliber team. And last year, he has the hand injury that keeps him out for a significant amount of time. Very interesting subplot at that time of DeJounte Murray. Are the Hawks somehow better with him? Ultimately, the answer was kind of no. DeJounte himself was better without Trey Young. It just clearly was not a fit that worked. Trey Young, again, is it my favorite skill set? Definitely not. But the scoring ability, the passing ability, and him being able to be the epicenter of an offense undoubtedly is something that is going to make the Hawks at least a competitive team this season where there isn't a ton of talent. I wouldn't say top to bottom. There are some players in that roster that I do like. We're going to be doing a little bit more team breakdowns as the weeks proceed here, but I think that Trey Young, I have him coming at number 8 right now, and this is a guy that has made All-NBAs before, has been a perennial All-Star. So, again, feels a little bit low. The NBA is deep in guard talent right now. Number 7, I have DeAaron Fox, and Fox is somebody that I don't think he gets enough love from a national perspective, and I understand it's this idea of, well, what has he really done in terms of team success? I understand that. You also have to understand that it is the Sacramento Kings that he played as on, which has been a perennially bad franchise for the majority of the past couple decades. And Fox, it's the two-way ability with him. I mean, this is swipe of the Fox. This is, he does not get enough credit for being a very good player on the defensive end as well. He has that game-breaking speed, the transition game, and I think that honestly, this upcoming season, I feel like this could be a big year for the Kings running transition more. Him, Sabonis. I really like the way that Keegan Murray is sort of developed within this offense. I'd like to see them running the court more. I think it's going to showcase De'Aaron Fox's skills. So I understand there are maybe a little bit more hesitations with him in the half court. So if you put him lower on the list, I would understand. Again, we're talking about multiple players here who have made all-star teams, all-NBA teams. It's tough to sort of sift through them, but I'm a big fan of De'Aaron Fox. I have him at number 7. Number 6, I have Tyrese Haliburton. I feel bad for Haliburton because of how the public perception has gotten so out of hand with him. He has been... If you're going to say anything about Haliburton, I mean, I understand there are deficiencies, specifically on the defensive side of the floor, that are a real issue. But in terms of just having a player to set the tone for your entire offense, I think Haliburton really does have an excellent balance of the scoring to playmaking. And Again, he has become unpopular with a lot of NBA fans for some reason. Again, defense, I totally hear you. He's not exactly a take over the game offensively for a lot of moments, but I think that part of it is in his game. What he does overall, I think, is extremely valuable to the way that the Pacers play games. He is the reason why their offense executes and is the best offense in the league from an efficiency standpoint, or, at least in that upper echelon. That I think Haliburton, again, at this point has sort of, because the rise was so fast for him and the Pacers were getting so much love during that in-season tournament, that once it got to the playoffs and Haliburton, who I still don't think was 100% healthy, he's not taking over games from a scoring perspective. I think people sort of fell off of the scent with him. I think Haliburton is still very, very good. So I have him coming in at number 6. Number 5, I have Ja Morant. Morant's another one where it's really hard to place him because we know what he's capable of. This is a guy that was All-NBA second team just a couple seasons ago before obviously everything sort of erupted with a combination of injuries and suspensions and such. But Ja Morant is still one of those guys, and he is just a total wrecking crew for the NBA when you talk about his driving, his dunking, all of those things. But I do think that there is upside as well for him, elsewhere. I think that he has another level of playmaking that he can go to. I mean, I don't think he's been particularly a star passer these past couple seasons, and he's still averaged 8.1 assists per game in each of the past 2 years. I think he is going to now, fully healthy, head clear, ramp up into the season, and the Grizzlies are going to be in that playoff conversation, and it's going to be because of Ja Morant in the middle. So I have him coming in at number 5. Number 4, I have Steph Curry. Feels wrong to have him this low on a list, just based off of him being Steph Curry and him showing this past summer what he is still capable of. But in terms of which players I would want on my... It's so tough even saying it still. In terms of which players I have the most confidence in that are poised for an excellent season, leading them to the playoffs, and, him and number 3, I'm so, tied up between... I think that Steph Curry is still capable of doing just about anything on a basketball court and taking over games at the biggest moments possible. But that being said, I don't think it's a play style enough to, fully overcome adversity like I do think that Jalen Brunson is capable of. Where Brunson, there were so many games where I understand the Knicks were more talented than the Warriors last season, but Jalen Brunson was a one-man wrecking crew in a lot of these moments where there were injuries galore. And it's so hard to discredit what he was able to do last season. Top 5 in MVP voting, second team All-NBA, as Steph was third. It's not at all a statement on Steph Curry. At this point, Curry is now 36 years old. He should be declining, and I don't even think that it is that he's fully declining. I think it's just that the next generation has sort of taken over a little bit more. So I'm very tossed up between 3 and 4. Let me know in the comment section whether or not you agree. Number 2, I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just the two-way ability, the fact that he is able to get to his spots, knock down shots like it's nobody's business, and then on the other side, be this lengthy defender that is able to have a real impact. The passing as well with Shai. He is just such a smart basketball player, and I'm a huge fan of his. The way that he has been able to really become the leader. He is in his, late 20s, so it's not like he's this young player necessarily, but he is still yet to hit his prime, and he's become the true through and through leader for this Thunder team that just won almost 60 games last year, is probably poised to be in a similar conversation this upcoming year as well. I have Shai at number 2 because Luka had to be number 1, and Luka, just what he is able to do in terms of transforming a team's identity. I understand it's very high usage, sort of Harden-esque in that sense, but he is somebody who, we saw him through the injuries and everything lead the Mavericks to the finals. Everybody makes it up like Kyrie Irving was this huge... Kyrie Irving had a good season as well. He's not the reason why they made the finals. Kyrie had some moments. There were also, more games than not that he was kind of radio silence. It was the Luka show, and for good reason. It should be. He is one of the best players in the NBA. He's at least in that conversation for the number 1 player in the NBA as a whole. He is the entire identity of their offense for the most part. When he succeeds, that's when you see Gafford and Lively and Washington all being able to build off of him. Players that are talented, but needed that extra little bit of push to fully showcase how good they are. And that is Luka and what he's able to bring in terms of the playmaking with him as well. I think that Luka is the best passer in the NBA. He's maybe the best scorer in the NBA. He's not easily the number 1 point guard in the league, in my opinion. But that is all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for tuning into the GSMC Sports Podcast. Thank you to the GSMC Sports Network for allowing us to host this show. Remember to like, follow, subscribe wherever you may be keeping up with us. We will be back tomorrow afternoon, same time as always at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We will see you then. Take care. Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a